All right, now let's go over Module 4 overview. So let's see what you have to do for the module this week. All right, remember it started on Monday, right? I released those modules. So this module is all about cascading style sheets. Right? So this is the way we style our content. Right? So far we've been working on structure. Right? Our body, our header, nav, main, footer, and then we threw in some paragraphs, some bullets, right? These are all considered structural kind of stuff, and then we put in our content within some of the other elements, right? The paragraphs, headings, and such. And now we'd like to make those look a little nicer than simply a white background, black text, Times New Roman, and like 12-point font, okay? We'd like to make it look a little different, okay? And that's what this chapter is all about, is to introduce you to those techniques using CSS. So you have 3 assignments, the DQ, the lab, and the quiz. Of course, your learning objectives are listed here. It is chapter 4, so please don't forget to go to the companion website to make sure that you're updated your book, whether it's physical or electronic, right, or digital, to update those with any of the updates from the chapter. Though I don't believe there are any in this chapter, but make sure you check, okay, just in case. All right, the full-blown key concepts that we cover in a condensed version are available to you, of course, by the author. The tutorials for this module. All right, so there are a few of them. And again, these tutorials always kind of supplement what's in the chapter, although in some cases I add perhaps a couple items in there that we talk about in class, but aren't necessarily in the book. Okay? All right. Any questions about the tutorials? Any issues or feedback about the tutorials in the past? Should I continue to add the tutorials? Right? Good. Okay, because I planned on it, so you'll get them, whether you like it or not. All right. And then I've included a video. So what I'm expecting is that you might read the chapter, right, look at the tutorials, and then get to the video that essentially shows you, right, how to put together a HTML file and an external CSS file, right? One of the 3 methods that we have to creating styles, right, and style sheets, okay? Which is the one we're really going to ultimately end up using in the case study and in your project. We'll get into more detail once we start covering the chapter and the hands-on. All right, so your first assignment is the DQ. So let's talk about that. So under discussion board, mandatory discussion questions, and then module 4 DQ. So the title is called Exploring Color. And the idea here is for you to start thinking about your project topic, right? Your project. And I'm hoping by now you've been approved. If you have not, then we probably still need to have a conversation, or we are in the midst of having a conversation, or you still have to reply and provide a new topic, perhaps. I don't know at what stage you might be at, but hopefully you've been approved for your topic, and now it's time to think about your color scheme for your project. Okay? So I ask a few questions like, choose somewhere between 3 colors and 1, right, at minimum, neutral color for your palette, right, for your color scheme. So the minimum number of colors I want you to pick is 4. 3 colors and then 1, right, 3 main colors and 1 neutral color. Okay? You can have a couple more, of course, but you really don't want to get anything more than maybe 5 or so colors, right? 6, you're pushing it. Anything after that, you think you might have too many. Okay, so you want to keep them, not that many. So that's why the suggested is 4 minimum. Okay, and then provide me with the hexadecimal value, right, of the colors that you've chosen. Right, so give me the hex value, and then provide me with the descriptive name of that color. Okay, so you provide me with 2 things for each of those colors, right? The hex value and then the actual color name. And then most likely you probably found some sort of resource for colors on the web, and provide me with that resource, right? Let me know what you used to pick the colors that you decided to go with for your project. Any questions about the main portion of the DEQ? All right. Well, we're lucky. This DEQ has some extra credit. Okay? 2 points for extra credit to take those colors you decided on, right? The 4 minimum colors, 3 main and 1 neutral, and create essentially a color scheme, right? Via a website. So here is the example of one set of colors that a student has created in this tool, right? The website's called colorcombos.com, and within that website there is a tool that called Combo Tester. And what we can do is we can put those colors, right, together to kind of see what they look like as a whole. We can remove colors, we can add colors using these tools toward the top of the page, right above the color swatches. Okay? So if you want the 2 extra credit points, you'll have to create, right, a color scheme, a color set of swatches for the colors you chose, and provide me with that URL. Right? So that's the idea. So if we go back to the DEQ, that's basically what it's asking you to do. Right? So configure the swatch for each of the colors you've chosen, and then give me the link in your post. Okay? Make sense? Okay. Now you have to complete the DEQ to get the extra credit, right? So if you just simply do the extra credit, you're not going to get the 2 points because you haven't completed the normal DEQ, right? So the idea is to complete the DEQ, and then you'll have the colors, right, by completing the DEQ to actually do the extra credit. So there's the total number of points is 7 for this particular DEQ. 5 for the DEQ at max, and 2 at max for the extra credit, which would equal 7. Sound good? Okay. Of course, if you have questions in the future, just let me know. I'll be happy to answer. All right, so let's close this tester. Let's close this, and let's get back to our module here. All right, the second assignment is we haven't gotten there yet. You have your student lab files. These are the files that you'll need for the hands-on in the book, right? The chapter hands-on, as well as the case study. All right, so all the files are there, and I know that we've covered this before, so you can either get those files from my my link, or you can get them on your own using the books link or whatever way you want. Now, one of the things that have changed for this module going forward, right, is that we're going to be moving away from a simple text editor, right, to something a little bit better. Okay, we're not going to go full authoring tool. We're going to go just a couple of hops forward into something called a code editor, right? So previously you were using these simple text editors that you see, the 4 bullets, Windows, one for Apple, one for Linux, one for Google, they're Chromebooks. And then I have a series of these code editors that you may consider trying. Okay? It doesn't really matter to me which one you decide to use, but we're going to move to this way in class. So in class, we're going to be using Notepad++, okay, for the Windows users. For you Apple users, well, you'll have to consider which tool you'd like to use. Now, Notepad++, is not made for a Mac, okay? However, Text Wrangler is a very similar alternative for Mac. So you're welcome to use that one as an alternative. Or you can use Atom or Sublime Text. So any of these that you might consider using, go ahead and give them a try. Okay? They're all free to use, and there's no cost. Okay? Now, if you have not downloaded one of these to your machine, don't do it now because we might take too much time for that, right? So it's up to you. I mean, if it takes a quick enough time during a break, that's great. But by next week or by tomorrow, I recommend that you install one of these so you can start being a little bit more efficient in the code that you're writing, right? Because Notepad or the text edit took us a long time. There was no color coding. There was no line numbers. There was none of that stuff. While these tools allow us to, right, display the line numbers, color coding, and in some cases, they're actually giving us hints on what it believes is the right code to type, right? So anyways, so you get to choose. Again, in this class, we're going to be using Notepad++ during class time. After class, you can use whatever you'd like, right? But I'm just recommending a few. Pick which one you like. Any questions? All right, fantastic. All right, your second assignment is the lab. So let's take a look at what you have to do here. So we're continuing our quest to complete the Pacific Trails Resort case study. And in this case, we're going to be adding one more page. So you currently have index.html, yurts.html, and you'll now be adding a new file called pacific.css. It has a different extension than what we're used to having, right? This is our CSS file. This is our styling file, okay? So you'll create the new file and then update perhaps your index and yurts with some other HTML kinds of things. Okay? Now, the other thing, right? So we talked about these new procedures, new policies, not policies, but new things we're doing in Module 4. Right? We already talked about moving from a text editor to a code editor. The second thing we'll be doing is we'll be using another validator. So we now have one for HTML, and now we have one for CSS. Right? So you'll be using two validators to validate your work. All right, the third thing that's new, moving forward, right, going forward from this point on, is that you'll be uploading all your work to the web. Right? So for the last few weeks, I've been asking you, get a host, right? Get an account, practice uploading files. Well, we're now here. It's time to actually upload your files for Module 4. Okay? So all your work going forward, right, unless otherwise indicated in the instructions, will be uploaded to the web on your host. Okay? So what I'd like you to do for your case study, okay, and other assignments where indicated, is that you'll be creating folders, or directories is what we like to call them on the web, for the work you produce. Okay? So let's go through the scenario for Module 4. You created a folder called Mod 4. You copied Mod 2, right, content into Mod 4, or you simply made a copy of the folder for Mod 2 and renamed it Mod 4, whichever way you want to do it. You've updated the contents of Mod 4 with the stuff that I asked you to, my feedback, and then you're working on Module 4, right, the case study for Module 4, and when you're all done, you're going to upload that work to the host in a folder or directory called Mod 4. So it's going to match, right? So locally, you're going to be creating a folder for that module, and then on the host or the web, you'll be creating a folder for that work for that module, right? And then you're going to provide me the link to the home page of that module. So your URL to me would look something like the example that I provided where it says you must publish your page to the web. It'll be whatever your account name is and whatever domain name you decided to choose, .com / and then the folder, Mod 4 in this case. Right? And all your files for this case study module, right, is going to be in that folder. Does that make sense? Yeah. No, I hope that they're the same, because why would you want to create a new one? Yeah. It should be just another directory, right? So just like Mod 4, you'd have one called Update 1, Update 2, and then the project. Yeah. So my instructions are going to be pretty clear. They're going to be similar to this, where what will be replaced is Mod 4 for Mod 5, Mod 6, right? So, yeah. Oh, yeah. You definitely want to keep one account, right? One hosting account, and then all that work will go into that one hosting account, right? Yeah. Phil. Well, the folder is going to be a directory up on the web. So you'll be uploading the files that you've created locally, your HTML file, CSS, and any graphics in the future, into that folder. So there will be no zip file. Yeah. Yep. Now, let's, hypothetically speaking, moving forward, you've submitted module number 4, right? All the work from the case study in a directory on the host, right? For module 4. You've provided me with the link to the index file in module 4, right? Now you're working on module 5. while I grade Module 4, you're working on Module 5. So what you would do is you would copy the work locally that you did for Module 4, and you will create a new folder called Module 5 with that work, right? And now you're going to work on, right, Module 5 using the files from Module 4. You'll copy them. So you're never going to overwrite what you've done in a previous module or chapter. You're always moving forward, right, for a few reasons. That is, one, I get to grade your previous work while you work on new stuff, okay? Two, you get to see progression. So we can go to Module 4 when you're in Module 10 and say, wow, look at this, what we've done. All right, we started out with something basic. Now we got something that's really interactive, okay? So we want to see that progression, and this way you're not overwriting stuff. And if for some crazy reason you lose your files, right, you always have the previous version to go back to on the web, right? It's always there as backup for us, and a place where I can take a look and grade while you're working on something else. All right, so you work on Module 5, and while I'm grading Module 4, you upload the work, right? And then hopefully by that time I have graded your Module 4 and provided you feedback, which will then be updated into Module 5. Right? So you're working on Module 5, I'm grading Module 4, I provide feedback, you'll integrate my feedback into Module 5. Right? So there's a little bit of give and take there. So you may finish the case study before I give you feedback, right? Because maybe you're just that good. So you'll have to then update what you've completed with my feedback. So just be aware of that. And it's okay because you're not providing me with a new submission. You've already provided me with that link to the index. All you're doing is updating your files and updating the work you did. The link should always be the same once you've submitted it. Okay. And that's going to go on for Module 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? As you work, I grade. As you work, I grade, right? And give you feedback. Does that make sense? Okay. Well, I know it will as we move forward and work on multiple additional modules. You'll get the hang of it. Okay. All right. If you have any questions, I'd rather you ask just to make sure than, right, submit it incorrectly, right, and get points taken off. Okay. So the biggest important thing here is do not attach a file. No attachments. A URL is necessary. Okay. Any questions? All right. Fantastic. All right. And your third assignment, of course, is the quiz. Right? 10 minutes, 10 questions. Take it where you want, when you want. Just don't take it late, and don't take it as a group. Right? This is an individual assignment. The review games are still helpful for those that are using it? Good? Okay. Yeah. If you're seeing that your quiz scores are not what you'd like, then perhaps the review games might be an option, as well as the sample questions in the back of the chapter, which the answers are in the back of the book. So you can take a look at those. All right. Any other questions for Module 4? Okay.